Let's get ready to throw down.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We are fresh into 2020. It's January. We practice what we preach. So today we're going to be talking about some of our goals and the things we want to accomplish, and also kind of looking at what we did last year, right? Being open and honest, because if we're not on track, you got to make adjustments, right? It's kind of where we live.
Better yet, it's 10:15 on a Friday night.
It's true.
And we all worked all week long. Yeah. We actually have one of our members who just flew in from Houston to be here with us in Dallas, Texas.
Weak sauce. That's the least of our worries, right?
Yeah.
Well,
nothing.
Man,
it's nothing.
Here's the deal. Everybody wants the instant gratification.
This is the life we lead. Everybody sees the 10 minutes of fame on social media. Mm-hmm. What you don't realize is the work that you put in, right?
Oh, yeah. Right. So, I mean, so to Al's point, right? It's 10:15. Yeah. We're all away from our families. You drove up from or flew up from Houston, right? And we're going to knock out a couple more tomorrow, right? On a Saturday.
Is what it is. You can do what you do, and you get paid for what you do.
Right. You get after it or you don't.
So the creator of Ameritrade, I have this written down. I have to look at my notes, but his name is Joe Ricketts. And I was listening to him talking.
Because he's got like bowed legs.
And
sorry, my bad. Bad Joe. You're a big dude, bigger than me, so I shouldn't have said that.
He's so cool. I was just listening to him going, I love you. You're amazing. I mean, he's just a great example of
Joe. You want her phone number? Give me a call.
He's a great example of working hard. In fact, his book is entitled "The Harder You Work, the Luckier You Get," tongue in cheek. Yeah. And he was just talking about, you've got to work hard. You have to pursue. And I was just listening to him thinking, gosh, if everyone would just do that. But like he said, everyone does not have that work ethic. Yeah. They just don't.
You can. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, baby, go ahead.
Oh, I just read something today. You can't have $1 million goal with a minimum wage work ethic.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Luck favors the prepared, right? So I was hanging out with my grandmother earlier this week, and she was asking me about, everything I had going on. So I'm like, we got the show and everything else. And she goes, but how's the money?
Yeah.
And I kind of got a little bit offended because I'm like, we don't need to talk about money. Like,
Did you make it rain? Did you just start ripping off the Benjamins?
So my grandmother was in sales for like 25 years selling print stuff, right?
And how do you judge success in sales?
Well, if you're me, because you're doing your KPIs, but we know what Al's answer is.
Benjamins, baby. Benjamins.
Bank account.
And it's mine.
And but it was so cool because I got to have this really interesting conversation with my grandmother about like personalities. All the stuff we're talking about here, which wasn't even on anybody's radar whenever she was selling print to like people. And it was funny because I was kind of like, man, I'm always going to be okay, right? I've got the skill set. I'm going to figure it out. And then I was catching up someone else in my family, and they're like, yeah, are you doing okay? And I'm like, God, why is everyone so worried about it? And then I was talking to Melissa, and she goes, to the average person, the idea of working for yourself is so far removed, and the word entrepreneur for a lot of people just means that you're unhirable, and now it's like a badge of honor because, like small business and entrepreneurship.
I look at it like when I see consultant. Oh, you were a consultant for the last 4 years? Oh, so you didn't have a job. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that's what perception is.
I had this huge reset right there in that moment, because it's not that they're worried about me. It's just that they're worried about like anybody going out on their own, So that's not really what we're here to talk about today. But I thought it was really
if you're in sales, you're on your own. Man, it's you, your voice.
You are you. And that is
it's your own cottage industry. Mm-hmm. Relative, you may be engulfed in a corporate structure.
I'm fully in that.
But you get rewarded for your success, and you broker the deal, right? And then you use that success to either leave that company or make that company give you more to effing keep you.
Yeah, So I'll put that on a scale. You talk about corporate structure. I am in the midst of a ginormous corporate structure that is, it's probably one of the biggest construction companies on the planet. And I'm immersed in that world. And I've also worked for independent people that I'm the only sales guy in the entire company, right? Mm-hmm. So I've worked in both worlds, and I'll tell you, the attitude is the same, because if you kill it, either way, you're recognized.
They want to keep you.
Yeah, absolutely, right? You have bargaining chips. You have tools in your, in your toolbox that you can use to benefit yourself. But you got to kill it.
For
right?
sure.
And kill it is probably a not so good term. And I think we're going to touch on that a little bit with our goals and what kill it means.
How to get
right?
there.
Yeah.
Well,
because kill it is different for everybody.
for sure.
Mhm.
Right. But to the other point of that, this has happened maybe 4 or 5 times with different companies I work with. I'm like, okay, well, why do you need the process? Why do you need the CRM? Why do you need these things? And they say, well, I got one guy and he's really good, and everybody else is kind of just doing okay. And I'm like, okay, so what's the big deal? Like, if I lose this guy, I'm so screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
So you got
And-
the backstory to
Yeah,
the equation.
Exactly.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, but no big deal. Just coach the other guys up. Just trying to like make sure that they really want this. And they're like,
He's speaking to me now.
and they're
Go on, Obi-Wan.
and they're so concerned with good reason, right? Because if you're good, you're going to get poached, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're good, you can write your own ticket. You can go do whatever you want.
Because here's what happens to that point is the company has to man up, not you.
Yeah.
How sweet is that little situation?
It is. And until you realize that you're not all that important. You sell
In most organizations, yeah, right. It's great when it's great, but if you have a bad month, like you're dead to me, and
and I hate to say this, but because I have one of those guys, and I just do, and you guys all know me, and if you're out there listening, you know me well enough that I'm as honest as the day comes, right? And if he's listening, which he's not, because he's not the personality to listen to this, right?
That's true.
So I'm not worried about what I'm about to say, but I have that guy.
Oh my goodness.
I have that guy that kills it, right? And everybody's scared to death that because I hired on to the position that I did, that he's going to leave me. And oh God, what are we going to do if this guy leaves, right? And my reassurance to everybody is, we'll find another one, right? They're out there,
Yeah.
And
Well, okay, because you're better. Correct me if I'm wrong, because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I'm so much better than him.
well, that's true. That's a
And
confidence problem.
I came from, and I came up
So
the
shocking.
ranks. I came
Sure.
up the ranks,
Oh, yeah.
and it's his bad draw to actually have somebody over him who's
Yeah.
better than him.
Well,
right?
well, I look at it like, why?
His bad draw.
Sure.
I
and,
love that.
And,
But-
I'll back this up,
but I
because if
get
you're
it.
really good, you'll become Clint, and you'll have a bunch of guys that are climbing the ladder, right?
Well, I look at it like, so you've done great. You could do better, right?
Mhm.
Let's make
We all
your-
can, because
let's-
that's the way I wake up every day.
And so I look at him and I'm like, man, you are a traditional salesman to a T. If I had to write a book or look up traditional salesman in definition, it would be a picture of that guy. I have
Big
that guy on my
talking,
team.
that tone, plaid
But-
jacket.
But the thing is it, and I will say this on every episode if I have to, they are not failures. Traditional salespeople are not failures. They've been winning for a long time because some guy wrote a book or some guy did some training we all listened to. It doesn't make us completely right?
Yeah.
So what the thing is what makes him successful, right? So if I can up his percentages and hit ratios better because of the stuff that I know that he doesn't, personality, the psychology of sales, the maybe body language, tonality, all that stuff that he just didn't learn because it wasn't his time in the sales industry to learn that stuff. If I can teach him a little bit of what I know and he'll teach, because let me tell you, I'm learning too, right? If he can teach me a little bit of what makes him successful and we can narrow down that focus and make us all better.
Well, wait a second. Stop. The guy's 98. You better get on.
He's 62. We're around.
So I wasn't far off.
But we're not far
The
off.
more you went into that,
But
I'm
listen,
like, how much older is
but
this
he
guy
literally-
than you?
Hey, but he literally is in his 60s, and
Love
he'll. But the thing is, with his personality type, he will go on till he's 94, and you kick him out the fucking door in the same day you put him in a coffin.
Yeah.
Is he a DI?
No, he's a super eye.
Oh, super eye.
Super
Okay.
eye.
Just
Traditional.
everybody- Yeah.
Super
Ah,
eye,
okay.
right?
That's fair.
Dude, when we say the phrase "you could sell ice to an Eskimo," I literally think this guy could fucking sell ice to an Eskimo.
Or
Right.
he would certainly try.
Yeah, he would certainly try, and he would die trying.
Yeah.
You know? So the point of it is that I know this guy, I have this guy on my team, and look, I'm not going to come in with all the tips and tricks that we all talk about up here and the training that I have, and we're all just going to say, you need to stop what you're doing and do what I do because I'm successful. because you're forgetting about one part of the equation, which is that he's been successful for a long
He's got a
time.
little track record.
Right.
But, so let's talk on that point for just a second, right? Because you were the first to admit that you have a hard time giving anybody credit for doing things well, especially if you have a little bit of experience in the field, right? You know,
Sure.
they have to prove it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So why aren't you just going out there and being like, okay, you guys want to see it?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, so we are doing that now. The thing is that I'm getting a lot of push to our earlier topic that people are like, well, if you fire anybody, you can't fire that guy, right? Because he sells for us.
Oh man, that's rough.
It is.
What's
However,
wrong with how is that wrong?
But hold on, time out, because they're not wrong.
All right, if he's producing,
What the true conversation to have is, you're right. He does sell for us, and he is our top sales guy, and he's been that way for 24 plus years. But he's not efficient, and that's where I have the heartburn. Not that he's not successful, not that he doesn't know what he's doing. It's that
Does he need to be?
Yes, because I can make him more efficient. So I need a lot of give on his part from a traditional sales, an older gentleman, a very opposite personality of me, to be able to accept me.
Is he willing to give it?
I think we're there now, but it's been 4 months, right?
Okay.
So it's been 4 months.
But he's pliable. He's willing to try.
Look, guys, we've had a lot of beers. That me and this
you
guy.
and him.
Yeah,
You and us.
I was about to say,
well, me too.
me.
But me too. I've had a lot of beers thinking about it. Me and
Friday
him.
night. Man,
me
this
and
is
him
our happy hour.
Look, me and him have cut out of the office on 2:00 in the afternoon because I knew the conversation we were having.
You did a
wasn't
little
going.
bonding and
Yep.
a little.
Yeah.
It just wasn't going anywhere. And in this setting, it just wasn't going to happen. So we needed to become.
You're like, you're 62. I know you drink.
Yeah, and I did. But I did.
Let's beat to the common ground here, right?
And so we did. So
Yeah.
right. So we did some bonding rapport, and
That's good sales management right there.
Look, we got on a common ground, and the goal was like, look, I need to learn from you, right? And I think that there's a couple tricks that I might have to make what you're already successful at doing better.
and that's
and
awesome for
When
the,
you phrase it that way,
yeah, for the approach to the eye, who just thrives on,
Sure.
oh yeah, let me show
People
you how
like it,
awesome I
yeah.
am, right? So you're flanking, right? Essentially, is
Sure.
what you're doing, right? Because you could beat him down.
Look, that's not my natural approach.
No,
That's my
scorched earth.
absolutely. That's not my natural approach. That's a understanding dispersonalities.
Mhm.
Because what I was
Exactly.
telling Doc before, Mr. Al Daniels, before this episode, was that I made everybody on my team do a what, Mr. You don't like Mr. Al
Oh,
Daniels?
sorry, I was thinking
That was weird. The way
No, well, because not everybody knows him as Doc, right? So the guy sitting to my left is Al Daniels. He's a doctor, and I love him to death. But what I was telling him before this episode was that I made everybody do a dispersonality exam on the team, so I know what I'm getting myself into when I have these conversations.
Did you make them go over it amongst each other?
We all did, right? So we've
Oh,
all
interesting.
talked about this. We've all sit down.
so you're doing
one-on-one.
leadership well. That's good.
Call it what you will. It's realization, right? So, everybody needs to know who they are, and everybody needs to know who I am in that role so that we can communicate. And by doing that, I think that we could have realistic, mature conversations about.
Yeah, adult.
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
That's all. That's
age
all
difference
life
doesn't
is
matter.
a
right?
conversation.
So anyway, there we are. So we're talking about goals, right, for
Yeah.
2020, and for me, that's one of my biggest hurdles is my own bestseller, if that makes sense to y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
just-
my biggest hurdle is my best-selling guy, and for some people out there listening, are like, what are you talking about? Just let him run.
well, but you're trying to
I
build a
can't.
culture,
Right.
Yeah.
You're trying to build a different culture for
Be-
everybody below him.
because
Doing
if I-
more
so
with
get
less
the-
is the name of the
yeah,
game.
Get the
thing
lead
is,
dog.
is
right?
if I have 4 salespeople that look up to that guy because he's the lead sales guy,
Yeah.
they can't model what he does because 1, there's no past data. 2, they're not him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I need to take the good things out of what he does and model it for the other 3 that aren't him.
But then
You're
interject
speaking my language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
a little
and-
bit of what you got going on.
Yeah, sure.
Like
right?
it.
And then turn it into a process that you can give to everybody,
Absolutely.
and that way everyone performs and is doing the same
Yeah.
things, and then you're collecting like 4 times the data than you would be with just one.
Whoa,
And-
listen to that
and-
speed of talk we've got going
No,
on.
I got-
But
I get
this
super
is
fired
this
up
is
for a
his
minute.
world, right? So, but once you find out that winning process, now you're hiring people that fit your process based on personality,
Yeah.
based on go get it. You're basing that on a lot more than a resume, right?
Absolutely.
There's actually another assessment, and what it does is they come in and they sit down with you and they kind of show you these different areas, and you kind of put these dots on these levels, right?
Yeah.
And then you use this as the model for the person you want to hire, right?
Is it modeled after DISC?
No, it's totally different, right? It's all about job fit.
Then why
Yep.
are we talking about it?
Because it's kind of interesting, right? Because just like DISC, it can be very black and white, and it can get you into some trouble. The thing about DISC is that it's comfort zones, right? I can do all of these things, right? I can have empathy. I can be somewhat influential. Yeah,
All
I mean
right.
sometimes. Not today, asshole. But
Speaking my language.
But they're comfort zones, right? So the more you do it, the easier it becomes, right? Which is why if you just run me through one of these assessments, no one should hire me for a sales role.
Well, for example, if I hire a high C and I tell him, "Hey, buddy, I need you to go kill it," and that's the end of our conversation. That's
God.
He keeps looking for a gun.
but you're asking for ultimate failure. That might be the best sales guy that you have ever hired, but you didn't set it up right?
Absolutely.
But if I hire a super I and I tell him the same thing, he may just go kill it for you,
Yeah.
and it's a total winning success plan.
This is the reason
Right.
why I have a company, is because
Right.
like this happens all the time. Just
Sure.
go make something happen. Okay,
Yep.
well, what is something? And what timeline
and
and,
look,
when?
For some people, that works. You tell me to go make it happen.
Yeah.
I need you to sell 30 million a year. Go do it.
Yeah.
Dude, I get it. You don't know other words need to be said.
Yeah, you have your benchmark.
I have my
and-
benchmark, and I will create my own stuff.
and that works
Right.
on your end,
On
right?
mine.
Because if anybody can see this, the middle of the table, the right and left are dicks.
Well-
I mean, in a certain sense, you guys just do what you guys do. You don't. There's some self-reflection.
Yeah.
But it's not. It doesn't eat you up like it eats up the two of us up, right? Was I mean? What do they like me?
Yeah.
Should I have done something differently?
And I care, and the only reason, Doc, that I even go there to get to the center of the table as you speak to emotions and the way people react is only because it's going to make my life better.
it helps
Of
you.
course.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
There's a motive.
So
Right.
versus where you are naturally inclined to care,
Yeah.
I care because it benefits me. So we're a little
Selfish.
yeah.
Just
Wow.
Hey,
Nan?
aren't, hey,
saying. Nan, what does
aren't-
Nan think
aren't we?
about that?
aren't we all, right? If you're in sales, and you're out there, you could do any other number of things.
I just mask mine a little bit better. I make you
If-
feel
if-
better about my
if-
selfishness.
If I slide to my natural inclinations, every conversation that I have, I tell you, I don't like your shirt, your hair is ugly, your fucking glasses are stupid.
Man. Quit
Well,
quit looking
okay,
at me when
okay.
you're making these statements.
but hey,
I literally looked at your 3 things.
listen.
Oh,
but
no.
I want
That's
people to
terrible.
listen up. You can gain from this because most of us
Mhm.
sit probably where Nan and I sit
Yep.
with a little bit of compassion in our hearts. But if you ever have to man up, the two guys I think about are Clint and you, John. Do I need to be analytical? Do I need to be a little more of a badass? Because Nan and I got the love
Oh,
and the
don't-
kumbaya.
Thank you.
Don't call him a badass. Come on, you're making his head huge.
Well, but I really believe that you can gain strength by knowing people who aren't you.
well, but here's the deal. It has to start with you.
Well, you
Yeah.
have to have the want and the desire to be something or get outside of your comfort zone.
But John, how many times have we talked on the phone, me and you together, sometimes an hour-long conversation on the phone,
Mhm.
and we're talking about a subject, and we're like,
But
shit.
you're in the same room, so
No,
how's that happen?
but check this out, because this happened
What, a week ago?
a week ago.
Yeah.
And literally me and John are talking on the phone, and John brings up some problems, and John says, shit, never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Because you're hearing it from me, and I bring up a topic, and I say, shit.
That's how we got here.
No
right?
doubt.
I mean,
Agreed.
by the
but,
pool.
but the
finding value in the
Yeah.
other people
Yeah.
that were not.
Nanette had a problem. My answer was different than yours, but we
Yeah.
both saw value in the other person's answer.
But the whole point of it is that, you have to have other personalities surrounding you to really get that goal that the thing that you want to say or the email that you want to type. you should never type out of emotion and hit send.
Oh yeah.
You should type it and hand it to somebody and say, hey, read this. See if you're,
I do that all the time.
Oh, I do too. I think
I proof everything that I'm sending out.
Professional
Nan's
person,
read more stuff. I'm like, read this, see if this makes sense.
any professional person in this business, especially in sales, proofread everything, right?
And have somebody else
proofread it.
Then ask you questions
Yes.
about what you and I guys, I'm not. I am well written. I mean, I can type a good
there's
letter.
no doubt.
I can,
No doubt.
but I get, like you said, emotionally caught up in either what I'm trying to deliver or I'm trying to be analytical, but I got a little I in me, so it gets a little confusing. I give that up to somebody else. They bring it back, and I critique, and it's much better. Yeah, great.
So sorry, I got us off topic like 20 minutes ago.
But so one more point on this topic about sliding, right? S's are the best chameleons at the table.
No doubt.
Right? And partially it's because they don't want to rock the boat, right? I mean, because like you don't run towards conflict, right, Annette?
Absolutely not.
Right? And so because of that, if you're talking to someone who's going to be a high I, you're just naturally going to be like more I-ish, right? Versus, talking to the D versus talking to someone like me, because you want that rapport and you want that at such a deeply ingrained level. So S's are the hardest people to peg normally. And
But let's back up. I've seen Nan talk to some really mean people and get them to calm down.
No doubt.
Right?
Sure.
She's a peacemaker.
Yeah.
She can walk in between things. And I've heard her say, some really good, brave things to people that I'm like, that worked out.
I will say everybody that I've ever walked around and I said, that guy's a ID. And then when they come out an S, it's mind blowing. And I'll say, oh, that guy's a C.
yeah.
Or she's an I. No, actually she's an S. I've been stumped on the S 10 times more than any other personality.
When I mislabel,
Yep. That's what I'm saying.
When I mislabel someone, it's
always an S.
Always an S.
Yep.
Yeah. D's, C's, and I's.
Agreed.
I have no problem.
D's, see them a mile away. C's, definitely. And I's, probably the easiest spot there.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, stop that. Stop that.
So
such flattery.
So we were talking about this a moment
exactly.
ago, right? And I was having a coffee with a guy, and he goes, I was telling him about the show and what it was about, and he's like, oh man, I love disc stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and I get riled up, and I'm, we're going back and forth and everything, and I said, and I'm the high C, and he was like, what? Who let you out of your hole? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no way you're a C.
Good statement though.
No.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
So, maybe coming into 2020, we kind of recap a little bit about who we all are, why we're here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So,
if they don't already know, but go ahead.
Yeah. No, if you haven't picked it apart, one of the things we do here on Sales Throwdown is we talk disc a lot. We talk about sales conversations, why we're here, what we're doing. The thing that drew us all together is definitely our personalities, right? And how we do our own business. We're all in sales, and we're all in the day-to-day grind. We all fail every day, and we all succeed every day at some point, right?
Day.
So the reason I bring that up is because going into 2020, we're talking about goals and why we have the goals. And every goal that you're going to hear is going to be motivated, I think, differently. Right.
Oh, wait till you hear mine. It's
but let me.
But at the end of the day, and maybe I'm speaking a little early on what you're about to say is it's money, right?
Well, I was going to say, you say money, and I agree with that, but it's work ethic.
Yeah,
we will be the first up and the last to go.
There's no doubt that's
except for John. He's scheduled like a mother. So anyway, he's got closing time.
But he's
culture time. Bro.
But hear me out. John has scheduled himself so well that he doesn't have to get up at 5.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I know. I want to be him. On the schedule, I want to be you.
I think working hard is getting up at 4:30. Yeah. Whether I get anything done there or not. But I just think that works hard. John says, well, I don't get anything done between 4:30 and 7, so I get up at 8.
Yeah.
And kill it. Right,
because I planned ahead.
That's
it's already scheduled, and I just flip the page.
Well,
and I get it.
And we talked about this a couple episodes ago on culture, right? I have very, very purposefully built a business because, for those of you who don't know, I worked for Al for 18 months, right? And I saw how available you have to be successful in that world and things like this. And I was like, man, I don't want to be on call like this, right? I'm not trying to do the digital nomad thing to where I don't have to answer to anybody or any of this stuff. Like that's not my game, but I don't want to be accessible, right? And
you don't want to be accessible,
not 24/7.
Yeah. Agreed.
And there's so many people out there that thinks that's what sales is, right? Like if I'm going to be a successful salesperson, somebody told me that's the guy you're looking for. I need to answer my phone call at family reunions, and when I'm at my daughter's, 8th birthday party, I got to answer my phone because I might miss a sale.
Absolutely.
There's people out there, and I'm just going to guess that it's a lot of people. It's a majority of people, right?
Yeah.
When I first got into it, I don't know how many people that I've, walked out of an important thing with my family, personal, to say, I've got to take this call because that gets me business.
Yep.
And I've used that excuse, I don't know how many times. And fast forward to today, I say, you know what? It ain't worth it.
Yeah.
Or they knew that I was here, or I don't need this phone call right now. They'll wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm able to do that because of, 50 things that we could speak on to get me to that point. But I started at the point where I was like, I got to take every phone call every hour of the fucking day. I've got to be on the phone, and I've got to be that guy with the Bluetooth earbud in my ear, driving around in a convertible with a suit on. No. I got to be that guy. Yeah. But that's what salespeople typically think, right?
We posted a quote from Al that was on a recent show, and it was talking about that once you understand that your time is more important than the money, like that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And that happens eventually, but you got to have some successes to get to that point, right? Because if you're a couple levels under that, right? Maslow's hierarchy, right? If all your bandwidth is allocated to keeping the lights on and keeping food on the table and keeping your job, you have no other choice, right? You can't not answer the phone. It's just such a panic, boom, gotta answer it. So,
panic, exactly.
Desperation.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Throwing everything against
stinky
the wall.
cologne.
Stinky cologne. Okay, cool. So let's talk about goals, right? Okay. We're gonna. I think the goal of the goals conversation is super meta. Is to be pretty transparent about like where we want to end up the year, right?
Sure.
So you want to start Team D?
Yeah. So I work for a mechanical contractor, and our branch office needs to do, quite frankly, $30 million this year. For me, in past experiences, that's a very obtainable goal in a very big market, which is so personally, it's in Houston, Texas, right? A lot of stuff going on there, a lot of stuff building, a lot of new expansion. It never ends, right? Yeah. This isn't like and if you live there, Ada, Oklahoma, sorry, I'm not insulting you, I'm just saying it's not growing, right? Yeah. Like you don't have the growth opportunity that Houston, Texas, or Dallas, Fort Worth, or Seattle, Washington, or San Diego has, right? I am expected to grow with the market, right? So our goal is actually $20-30 million less this year than it was 3 or 4 years ago, right? Because of some failures, because of some things happening. And
but so to that point though, this is slightly off topic, but good for your company for like realizing and making the goal attainable,
because that's the key word is I think when I got hired on, it was resume says this, conversations have said this, we're going to be able to do $100 million, but it's a really good leadership that says, well, $100 million is obtainable, but it's a 10-year plan, right? Because today we're at 15 or 16, right? And I'll tell you that for me, coming from where I came from, $15 or $16 million is maybe one job, right? So the companies that have come from in the past, what's a one sale, right? So I'm looking at 30 million, like, oh shit, I got to sell 2 jobs a week. So the difference is that my goals don't even compare to that 1 or 2 sales. It's 40 or 50 sales or even 60 sales, right? Because that's the company that I'm in now. And no matter, and that's the thing about these, you look at a corporate giant that's a bazillion-dollar company or a $5 million company, you have to set your goals and they have to be obtainable per what your market is and what your company is, right? So for me, this year it is 30 million in sales. And I look at it and I say, chump change. That's my personality, right? I look at it. And if you'd have said 150 million, I'd have said the same damn thing. Chump change. Let's go get it. Right. But I have all the confidence in the world to go set goals.
Well, but we also got to talk about the other thing is that you're not the only producer now, right? So
Sure.
So it's easy for you to be like, cool, I'm going to go get it. But now you're in this leadership spot.
You know, the thing is I'm not a producer at all. I'm a manager, right? And I have
you're an officer. You're no longer enlisted, bro.
That's,
Country club.
well, that's what most would think, but But let me tell you, I'm pulling up in a way less cooler vehicle than everybody else on the team.
Well, you're just modest. You're just modest. Yeah.
So,
pull out that big fatty roll out of your pocket. You're like, wiping the eyebrows,
combing the hair over, wearing the suit. The thing is I have all the faith in the world that I know exactly how to get that goal done. Where I'm at right now is transferring that idea for other people to buy into, right? So, as a sales,
how are you going to do that?
Well, that's a good question, because a lot of it is personality, right? A lot of it is psychological, and God help me, I don't want to go into this rant that you guys don't understand, but it is a ton of personality study, and
your person,
both.
Or,
It is mine. And it is my
how
team.
It reflects on your team. Sure.
Absolutely. It is, and not only mine. So I'll tell you guys, one of the things that I requested was not only my team's disc personality, we all took it. I took it again. We all compared, but I also asked for the leadership above me to take it, so that I know how to come,
Was that a buy-in from them?
It was,
okay.
yeah. But to be honest with you, it was negotiated because I was not taking this job unless that was something we all agreed to do.
Good for
Look at you, big balls.
Oh yeah, big balls are called what
Baller.
is. But the thing is I was successful where I was at, so I didn't have these big things to lose, right? So you're either going to buy into my ideas or I don't go there, and I'm good with where I'm at.
You guys hear that? Get it your way.
Leverage.
And I think you should, right?
It was only because of leverage.
Only
Sure.
well, and if you ask.
But I built my success, right? So I have I have my chips to play.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
my stockpile of my poker chips is mine that I earned.
You got a bunch of reds, not too many blacks.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
Yeah. So
Listen to that episode, guys.
Yeah. So the point of it is that when I went into this, that I knew how to communicate below me and above me. And I knew how to accept what people said to me, and I knew how to communicate it above me. But I only knew how to do that because of psychology of sales.
Yeah.
Period.
Good.
So, okay, so you got 30 million
that
you need to sell, or that your guys need to sell, and you need to manage them to like get them to that finish line.
Yeah.
What other other goals do you have?
Let's talk matrix, right?
Yeah.
So you split that over 12 months, right? So I'm a big believer in construction world of monthly sales, and not weekly, not daily. My trend in my market typically goes monthly. So I have 12 months, I have $30 million to execute, break it up. A lot of people out there will break this up evenly, right? It's a $2.6 million spread per month. You got to sell this and go get it. But if you don't know your market, or maybe you do know your market, but you just want easy math, so you do that. The problem is November, December in my world, it's a failure. Total, absolute fucking failure.
So you have 10 months.
I have 10 months to sell, right? And even January is sketchy, right? Because people, and I'll tell you exactly why. It's holiday. We're not Europe, right? We don't take 2-month holidays. We don't shut everything down to go on these breaks. People are working on Christmas Eve, right? But the problem with it is that everybody in construction uses November, December to push to January. Now we'll talk about it. Give me your budget numbers today, but when we get the new revenue forecast in January 1, we'll talk about this, right? So you can pretty much guarantee that November, December is a zero. Like it's a goose egg, right? So now it's not 30 million over 12 months, it's 30 million over 10 months, right? But even then it's a peak. And in my business, which is conditioned to air, it's a summer hot portion of the year. It's a May, June, July, August, September, right? So now you're not talking about 10 months anymore. You're talking about really the big work is in 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, so you got to do 6 million a month.
Sure. Yeah, really fast.
During those good months, yeah.
Yep. So the thing is to be realistic. to be obtainable. Don't set your sights in February at 4 million.
If you've never sold anything in
If
February.
you've never sold anything in February, why?
Yeah.
Right? The thing is, for me, is that you typically trend in the $4 to $5 million range in May, and in June you go 5 to 6, and in July you're 6, and September and even into October you're in the $5 million range. Set your trend line that way.
Mm-hmm.
Set your goals up that way, right? So that if you do pick up a $3 million job in February, dude, you guys are made through March. And then you sell March and you're made through June, and you sell May and you're made through August, right?
It's the consistency thing.
Yeah. So set realistic, obtainable fucking goals per month, and maybe in your business it's daily, right? But make them realistic. If I need to sell 30 widgets today, but it's a bad part of the year, maybe it's 20, and maybe in June it's 40.
Yeah.
Right. So set realistic expectations.
So, any other goals or
advice?
Huh?
Advice? Any other advice? Yeah. I would say, the thing is that trend lines are really important to me. So setting goals are based off past data, right? And that past data comes from CRMs, right? And those CRMs are built by a lot of data input. The only way to forecast in my business is to input data realistically, right?
I'm going to give you a t-shirt, but keep going.
Yeah. So when, for example, when you have a meeting with a customer and you say it went good, and you put that down on paper and you move forward, you have nothing. In my mind, you have nothing. But when you say, guy talked about this, subject A talked about that, he responded well to this, this is what we responded with, he reacted this way. When you're talking about that level of detail, you can forecast from that, right? So now that's a good customer. That's a guy that I want to do business with in the future. But you got to have that past data. And that comes from sitting in meetings and recording data, writing stuff down. Not just the meeting was good.
Did you say C and B's? What'd you say?
I don't know.
Okay, never mind. Yeah. So, you good? Okay. Because we're, we kind of went down a tangential hole earlier. I want to make sure we get everybody covered. You don't got to push it away. You're going to have some input for sure.
I was going to say, don't act like that.
Albert?
We want you.
To the other side of Clint is the small business. I say small. I mean, we do millions. We just don't do the millions, and we're not. We don't do coast to coast. So, from a segmental kind of scenario, because we have different segments of our business, most of it's hemmed in the very beginning because of deductibles in healthcare, right? People have to climb the hurdle of their out-of-pocket expenses, and so they have approach avoidance. Healthcare's that's the costly thing, making me come out of pocket. So they've got to really experience something that prompts them to do that. So our goal is to begin to work that schedule through the first part of the year, getting to out of pocket being met, bigger ticket items being, pushed towards the insurance company. And that's just the reality of insurance. They're the backstop, but in the beginning it comes out of your pocket. So to that end, it's a lot of, I'll be up front, it is basically survival until you get to the point where it's free flowing in healthcare. So we watch our budgets. Our goal is to keep costs down in the very beginning of the year. It's we hold the money we made at the end of the year to cover costs for the front of the year. And we now start to ration anything that would cost us more. So, and that's purely from a business standpoint, but we also market a lot. We go out and promote what we can do and what our services are. We have conversations. So the lull is actually a great time to get your name out there, to get the exposure that you've been looking for, that you were too busy because you were servicing at the end of last year. Once we get through the middle of the year, I mean, catastrophic events, car wrecks, work injuries, all of those are not deductible related. So we really market the business that we can get at the front of the year, knowing that the rest of it will come.
Okay.
And so we do a lot of mining. We do a lot of, talking to other physicians. We talk to, people that we do things that they don't do. We just get out. We get out a lot. And so, the goal is to be out there, to be really working our marketing side of things, our sales side. And then the latter half is all about production. It's all about how many patients can we see? They are here, and we have services to do.
So what kind of cycle is that? Is that a 6 month, or is that a 3 month down?
It pretty much breaks 6 months, 6 months, because we'll see. Now we have a lot of Medicare, a lot of federal programs that we push from, particularly for bigger procedures, into the first part of the fiscal year, first quarter, because the hurdles aren't as hard. But when everybody's deductible resets, and it resets sometimes higher, very seldom is it lower. And literally it's $3,000 is the rock bottom in most cases, and it goes up to $10,000.
That Q4 for you is big.
Well, and it was big this last year. So but here's the hesitation to not rest on the laurels, because we know the famine's coming, right? Yeah. The cycle has turned. We are hitting winter, and I mean winter is coming.
Yeah.
But we know it every year, and you're a fool to think that it isn't. Nan's shaking her head. She knows what I'm talking about.
So can I dig in?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're talking about in the first part of the year, it's all about like marketing and getting out in front of people, filling the pipeline. It sounds like
reconnecting, because a lot of these people are our pipeline. We just hadn't seen much of them because they're doing what they're doing. I'm doing what I'm doing, or we are.
What does success look like for that?
That is, and Nan can speak to this. That is on the phone. That's in person. That's, Nan can relate. Hey, just stop by. Talking about other things in our bag.
Okay.
What have, hadn't seen you in a while.
Well, we've been so busy doing our current business. So right now it's time to create new relationships, tweak the relationships we know. And we've just had a lot of luck so far, and we're only
luck. No,
so you
wrong road.
Luck.
Nan's too gracious.
But in your,
and I don't believe in luck, so I don't.
So in your world, that 6 month is really active, and that's going to be your workhorse months, right? That
Absolutely.
6 month of just killing it, and then the other 6 month is where you develop
getting killed.
Yeah, true.
Well, that's why you have to strategize. You cannot just go, oh well, I'll do this. You have to have a plan.
But what you can't do, like you said, you can't just sit by and say this sucks for 6 months, and
it sucks for everybody,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I got a call,
but I think every industry has that.
But I have
Absolutely.
a doc going
There's
out of business.
cycles,
Okay. Case in point, we have a doctor who's going out of business. Where's he sending his patients? Does he want some extra work? Opportunities are really popping. It will pop up during this time. Don't go sleepy. Get out there, and even though it's non-revenue producing in a lot of cases, there are a lot of nuggets out there that we can pick up.
Well, it's not immediately revenue
producing.
producing.
No, because you don't have the revenue down the road without the homework.
Exactly. If you feed, it's the pipeline. Yeah. We're developing the pipeline that pays us the last 6 months, and if you can't live off of that 6 months, you're in the wrong business.
And almost every industry that I know, everybody gets caught up on what's now, right?
Yeah.
So you get caught up on, I'm so busy, I can't even think about the future until the future is here.
And it will come.
And you didn't prepare for it.
And every industry
and now you can
has
only
a
think you
future.
should have prepared.
And now you're like,
for
shit.
It, right?
So in my business, it's a 6 month turnaround. What you're failing in January is because you didn't sell in July of the year previous. In every industry, all of us up here can talk about that, right? Maybe it's a month, maybe it's 30 days. Same thing. maybe it's a week, maybe it's 4 months, whatever. But the thing is that you have to look back and you have to prepare for those cold winter months where you're sheltered down, and you have to do your shit to get out there so that you don't have those slow months.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Do you want to share a number, Al, or? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Well, I will.
Because you only bought like 13 clinics this year.
No, we have a goal. I have 2. We're on 3, and at the 6-month mark, right?
Okay.
Because you don't ever start a clinic now.
Okay.
Poor time, right? You prep to get it there. But I'm hoping to do probably about $6 million in top line revenue.
And then, do you have any other goals, like personal, family, otherwise, travel, anything else?
No.
Okay, cool. That's
I
fine.
mean, I only say that because right now business is everything.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get there. We'll do things.
Shit.
Lynette?
So I work for Al, so mine's pretty much the same.
4.
And so really I can just speak personally, and of course I'm going to go here, but it's the truth. I'm really wanting to seek wisdom, and I'm not talking about knowledge necessarily. I just really have this desire to gain wisdom, and I have a lot of ways to do that, and I've been doing that. And I also, when we were talking about...
Be specific. Wisdom's vague, and ways of doing it are very vague too.
Okay, so I wake up in the morning, and I've discovered that it's way more important to get into the Word, the Bible, for me, and I get a lot of wisdom from that. I just think it's the truth. So it's very applicable to, if I can say that word correctly, applicable to life. And it helps me in my business, and it helps personally. And when we were talking about our timing, and, over time, when I first started working in sales, I was just like, I would, be out there before 8. And that's after I made breakfast for the kids, and then I wouldn't get home until 6. And I had this ridiculous goal, that then I get home and cook dinner. Well, as I get older,
you made almost $400K a year then.
True.
So there must have been something going on there.
But I will
that's
tell you.
nothing to sneeze at.
But I will tell you.
But that success is only relative.
Yes, and that's what you were speaking about earlier. I'm telling you, it is biblical to have a day of rest. It is crazy to focus only on a dollar amount and not spend time with your family and your life and just enjoy your life. So
I will thank you for that shout out, but I don't think I said anything of the sort. But thank you.
No, you did. You talked about, spending time wisely. Sure. And, Al always talks about the 2 minute, and his 2 minute is for 24 hours a day, like 2 minutes on this thing and for 20. So I don't know if that's true, Al, but I do think you have to be smart.
Were you referencing everything?
Everything. That
don't believe that.
I do think it's very wise to spend your time wisely, and not just focused on work. But if you're smart, you will figure out how to do it correctly.
Yeah. And everybody's wisely is different, right? Mm-hmm. So our goals personally are very relative to us.
For sure.
And I think that when you pick apart certain things that maybe you realize in personality in one of us, and you pick apart the goals in maybe your industry that coincides with one of us, it's all very relative, right? You have to make that shit work for you, right? There's no one thing that any of us are going to say that's going to make you $1 million tomorrow. This shit is relative to you, and you have to go find out what that is.
Yeah, that's a super good point.
I do like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
So John.
My turn. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've been doing a lot of reading around like goal setting and doing some things, and so I've kind of taken a different approach than how I would normally do it, because normally I'm just like, here's this, and here's how I'm going to get there, and here's this, and how I'm going to get there. And so I kind of sat down and thought about like, what 2 areas do I think that I am not as good at as I want to be, right? And one of those things is being intent, right? I have a lot of stuff going on, and we'll dig into that in a second. And so it's super easy for me to be hopping between things, right? And that's not productive, right? No one multitasks well, right? If you think you do, you are lying to yourself, right? So consistency and intent are my 2 big words for this year, right? And so with that in mind, I have laid out some personal goals and then different business goals for all the different things that I'm working on, right? So I've got adaptive growth, which is the main thing. I've got goals for this as far as like where I want this to be at the end of the year.
This being Sales Throwdown.
Yeah,
okay.
The podcast as well. I'm trying to do like some personal branding stuff, you know, and so I've got goals for adaptive growth, for the personal brand.
Yeah.
I want to write a book around this thing that I focus on about the database sales and, you know, collecting more data and having the process and doing all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd read that.
Huh?
I'd read that.
So would I.
Oh man, cool.
On audiobook.
I might not.
Yeah,
I might
absolutely.
not understand it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
I'd read it. I'd take a stab at that.
You know, the
I actually read
the
Clint.
book.
If you want to learn, give me a call.
The book thing is now, you know, for entrepreneurs and stuff like this, it's kind of the business card, right? I mean, not everybody does it, and that's okay. But I have a lot to say about this topic, right? It's a passion project for me. So I'm in talks with some people about like helping me out with this because I know that due to my C-ness, I will overthink the crap out of it and won't ever get anything ever done.
Hey, that's a good point, though. You talked about that's kind of the way everybody thinks is that, oh, if you have a book, if you have this, then I need to listen to your 10 ways of success to sales, right? I'm going to tell you, what I truly believe is that everything that's being set up here is from the grunt side of the fence, right? It's stuff that we deal with every day, and we literally fail, and we're telling you about our own personal failures and our own goals. Be careful what I've read a book in the last year that was a guy that sold one job, and he was a gazillionaire, right? Yeah. And now he travels around. I won't mention his name because it'd be goddamn embarrassing to him, but he travels around. It just would. Yeah. He travels around. He preaches sales success, right? And as I read his book, I say, I could punch 500 holes in that, right? That's bullshit. You made it once. You're successful, so therefore you got this opportunity, right? Yeah. But be careful what you look at, right? That's all I'm saying.
Of course, right?
Be careful what you read. Be careful what you do. And I think that when you hear success stories from us, or you hear recommendations from us, it's real because we're literally living it.
And we're diverse. We're not just one little focus.
You're not.
You know.
So I have my goals broken down for the personal brand stuff, right? The book. I'd like to do 2 speaking engagements that don't even need to be paid because I would be new to that. Let's see.
But he would like to be paid.
Well, sure. All right. I'm not going to say no to that.
What do you mean speaking engagements?
Getting up in front of a group and talking about these topics.
Like at a sales conference or?
Sales and entrepreneurship, right? A lot of the things that I think about and talk about with people that I work with is much more about it's sales process and like how you think about things, but a lot of the people that I work with end up continuing to work with me because we're talking about how they're structuring their business and their goals and all of these other things, right? So it's kind of taken on this life of its own. So, and I'm very, very passionate about it. And because I agree with you, right? There's so many of these talking heads now, all these influencers and stuff like this all over social media that are quit your job and start. No, right? Like you need to have a really good reason if you're going to go out and do the same, because a little bit more money isn't worth it.
You do not quit your job until you have a job. Then you quit the other one.
When the supermodel on Instagram tells me to drink sugar-free Red Bull because it's awesome versus the scientist that tells me probably shouldn't drink that shit. Yeah. Who do you want to listen to? That's all I'm saying. It looks attractive.
Supermodel.
No,
Supermodel.
But some personality.
Why would I not?
Some personalities are going to gravitate towards the super attractive, and some are going to gravitate towards
beautiful.
the facts.
I'm drinking.
No doubt. Hey, I'm on board with you until I end up in a hospital on my deathbed, right? And I'm like, shit, I shouldn't have trusted that girl. I'm just saying, watch what you hear.
Yeah, for sure. Right?
Do your own research.
I've heard someone else say this, and the first time I heard it, I was like, man, this makes so much sense. There's so much content out there, right? Between YouTube and like Google will show you whatever the thing that's worked on the most.
You go to imright.com and you make everything work.
Yeah. Right. It's you can tell yourself whatever you want. So I think that the people that are going to end up being successful, like further on down the road, are the people who are capable of high levels of critical thought and being like, okay, this doesn't make sense. So let me go see 5 more of this and see if it's true or if this person is just trying to sell me something. Right. Sure. So I've got the personal brand stuff, adaptive growth. One of my big goals for that company is to replace myself as the day-to-day CRM consultant, because that's really my why, right? I would not be here if it was not for Al Daniel taking a shot on me, right, and putting me into my first B2B realm.
Wow,
right? Absolutely would not.
Yeah, quote that shit. No, you earned your way into everything that you've ever done with me.
So there's 3 guys in my life who have spent lots of time and taking shots on me and stuff. And at this conference, when we actually came up with this idea, like there was this Zig Ziglar quote up on the screen, right?
I thought you were gonna give me a shout out. I was ready.
No, sorry, bro, you're not there yet. Super happy you're here. But that Zig Ziglar quote was, "You can have anything you want if you help enough other people get what they want." And I just had this. It was super weird. My hair was standing up on end, goosebumps, and I just sat down and started like, because before this, I just wanted to have the growth to do like 200K and no big deal, and I'll just do it myself and everything else. And in that moment, I was like, man, I think it'd be pretty selfish of me to like not try to get to a spot to where I can take shots on like other people. So that's the big goal for that. My girlfriend works on the team, and that presents some interesting dynamics, and so trying to grow that as well as help her grow her business is a big goal of mine as well. I want to do 300 to 400K in that company this year.
Wow,
that would be pretty significant because there's not a lot of overhead and consulting and what I do.
But also coming from zero.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't do 300K last year,
exactly.
But I did, about half of that. So, I mean, it's a pretty big goal, but I think I know exactly what it takes to get there. For the podcast, right? My goals, and I don't even think I've shared this with you guys, honestly, because I've been kind of head down and game planning, is that, we have an email list. I want 5,000 people on that. I want 1,000 people like listening each week whenever we launch. And I want, 250 views of the YouTube show.
I gave you 4,700, so I don't know what you're bitching about.
So like, those are my goals for that, because I think that at that level, we, can do some really cool things and impact people, because once again, this is not like, I like obviously getting up here in front of this table and talking with you guys and drinking, even though I'm not drinking today, and getting to talk about my experience and stuff. But like, really, I want to help other people to like make this more approachable, right? Because man, I was under that weight, right? I mean, it was so funny because when I stopped working for Al and started to work with Jeff, and we were launching the website design business, I would still see Al occasionally, at Kung Fu and everything else. And one time he comes in and he was like, man, like, where was this guy? Right. Yeah. Because I'd been working, right, and like trying to work on myself and improve and get better. And I was like, man, it's all over here. Right. And now like we're all here and we're all on this path together. But I was under all of that weight. Right. And so much of this stuff has just helped me. Right. So like when I'm speaking, it's more to like, this would have helped me 6 years ago. So go do that.
Shorten that learning curve.
So
yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then my personal goals, right? I want to be 200 pounds, right? Down from 240. I was 240 the majority of last year. Not super happy with it. I'm a tall guy, right? Hence small mountain. So, I also want to develop cooking as a skill, because I hate it. I loathe cooking so much, right? And Al gets super excited about it and talks about it all the time. And, I don't think I'm going to get to 200 pounds if I don't develop a cooking habit and like enjoy cooking at home. Right. So went and bought a grill, and, we're kind of working down this path and everything.
Cooking class at my house, everybody.
Jiu-jitsu, right? I want to be a blue belt, right? Which is kind of the one step after white belt. So it's not like that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's progression and moving forward.
I love it, man.
Right.
Dude.
So,
because this guy is a beast in the kung fu arena. So yeah.
Thank you. Right. It's hard to start. It's hard to start over as well. Right. So
I can imagine
so
like a new dance
humbling.
step, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. That's pretty rough. But yeah, not to like monopolize, because, I've got all of this laid out in a very C fashion. I actually have it as a blog post. If anyone wants to go look at it, it's on johnsmallmountain.com.
It's worth reading.
All laid out. Very, very kind of very specific, very C-ness. But,
I'm in love with John Hill right now.
Do we have a throwdown for this?
I don't think so,
really
man.
think
I just did it. Yeah.
I think we did it.
Yeah, I think that was it. So if set goals,
comments,
make them attainable.
questions.
Yeah.
Hey, let us hear from you. Reach out. We'd love to hear what your goals are and how 2020 is going to be your year as well.
Yeah. We read all the reviews.
Yeah. What books are you reading?
Right now?
No. To our listeners.
I'm like, oh man, we don't have time.
No, you're right. What what motivates you? What gets you turned on about sales?
What do you want to see on the show? Right? It's a new year. We're here for you guys, right? We're not here just talking into the vacuum for no good reason. So, we want your questions, right? Because we can help. And if you know someone else who's struggling, please share this with them. We're on all the social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you want to take this assessment because you're not sure where you are and you've never really known, reach out, assessments@salesthrowdown.com, and leave a review and a rating, because that's how we grow.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
See you.